Humans accidentally stumble into a galactic empire. Chaos erupts, and one tiny fleet proves courage can challenge the strongest power in the universe. This is the story of humans who faced an empire and changed the galaxy forever. Don't miss the next epic adventure. Hit subscribe and join us for more amazing stories. Humans were traveling through deep space in their exploratory fleet, unaware that their new route had taken them into the borders of the Zalarian Galactic Empire. They were excited about discovering a new star system, scanning planets for signs of life and resources. The fleet was small compared to the massive ships that patrolled the Empire, and their sensors only showed faint signals, which they assumed were harmless anomalies. The crew was relaxed, joking about alien sightings and sharing stories from previous missions, completely oblivious to the fact that their presence had already triggered hidden Zalarian sensors. As the humans approached a seemingly empty system, their leader suggested sending a small reconnaissance ship ahead to gather detailed scans. The tiny craft moved carefully through asteroid fields and around glowing gas giants, while the main fleet followed at a cautious pace. Everyone assumed this was just another routine exploration mission, but the moment the recon ship crossed an invisible boundary, alarms went off in the Imperial command centers. Giant Solarian warships stirred from their slumber, activating shields and weapon systems. The humans, miles away, could not see or hear any of this, and they continued their scans, unaware that the Empire considered this area highly restricted. Suddenly, the human sensors began picking up strange signals, but the crew misinterpreted them as natural space phenomena. Not knowing it was actually Imperial communications and fleet movements, they broadcast normal greetings and data probes, which only made the Zalarians more suspicious. To the Empire, it looked like these humans were deliberately sending information and trying to infiltrate their territory. Orders were sent quickly: mobilize the fleet, intercept the intruders, and neutralize them before they could gather any secrets. Zalarian admirals, confident in their superior firepower and centuries of military experience, expected this to be a simple capture mission, never imagining that these humans would react in ways they could not predict. The humans' leader received a faint alert about the sudden rise in unidentified signals, and he frowned, thinking it might be a software glitch. He ordered his crew to continue scanning and mapping the planets, completely unaware that the Empire was already tracking their every movement. The humans' casual approach and lack of defensive measures made the situation more tense for the Zalarians, who were used to dealing with cautious or stealthy intruders. Every maneuver of the humans, from minor course corrections to sending exploratory drones, was being recorded and analyzed by thousands of alien observers. Each human action seemed random and unplanned, but to the Empire, it felt like deliberate boldness, a challenge that demanded a response. Back on the human fleet, the crew celebrated a small discovery on one of the planets, detecting water and signs of mineral deposits. Their excitement echoed through the communications channels, while in the distance, massive Zalarian warships activated engines, moving into formation, preparing for what they assumed would be a quick and decisive engagement. Yet the humans remained unaware, taking measurements and discussing potential landing sites. Their innocence and curiosity created a stark contrast to the tension building across the Empire. Every beep, signal, and command from the humans was misread as either a threat or a challenge, and the Zalarian officers braced for conflict, confident that the intruders would not last long under their firepower. The moment of confrontation was approaching, but the humans were still engrossed in their routine. They scanned asteroid belts, laughed over small malfunctions in their equipment, and made playful bets on which planet might hold the most interesting life forms. Meanwhile, Zalarian ships moved closer, energy beams and defense arrays ready, waiting for the humans to make a move. In the eyes of the Empire, the humans' ignorance was dangerous, reckless, and completely audacious, and it was only a matter of minutes before chaos would erupt. The humans, curious, adventurous, and completely unprepared, were about to stumble into a conflict they did not understand, setting the stage for an accidental invasion that would shock the galaxy. From the perspective of the humans, it was just another mission, a routine exploration with new wonders to discover. They did not realize that crossing an invisible line in space could trigger one of the largest and most disciplined empires in the galaxy. Their innocent mistake, curiosity, and sense of adventure had unknowingly put them on a collision course with overwhelming power. The stage was set for chaos, confusion, and unexpected bravery, as the humans prepared to face forces far beyond anything they had ever encountered. The first signals of Imperial ships appeared on their sensors too late to avoid panic, and the humans finally realized that they were not in an empty sector, but inside a deadly empire. Their hearts raced, alarms blared, and the fleet scrambled to respond. The adventure that had begun as simple exploration had turned into the first step of an accidental invasion, and there was no turning back. Humans were about to face the unknown, not with overwhelming power, but with courage, unpredictability, and a stubborn determination to survive. And the galaxy would soon learn that these explorers were far from ordinary. The Zalarian fleet moved with terrifying precision, massive warships cutting through space like blades. Humans stared in disbelief at the enormous vessels appearing on their sensors. Their small exploratory ships looked like toys in comparison. The humans' first instinct was panic, alarms ringing and lights flashing as crew members tried to make sense of the overwhelming enemy presence. Every human command was careful, cautious, yet entirely improvised. They had never trained for combat against a civilization with ships that could crush entire planets with ease. The Zalarians expected resistance to crumble quickly, confident that these humans would surrender or flee. But as the humans executed evasive maneuvers, weaving between asteroids and debris fields, the aliens realized that they were not dealing with a standard opponent. Humans acted unpredictably, taking risks that no military strategist would ever suggest. Each move confused the Zalarian fleet, their targeting systems struggling to adapt to the erratic patterns. For the humans, it was instinct, courage, and desperation guiding every decision. On the bridge of the human flagship, the commander barked orders, not knowing if they would work. Crew members darted between consoles, rerouting power, adjusting shields, and attempting to communicate. Their actions were chaotic but surprisingly effective. Some Zalarian missiles missed by inches, guided only by the humans' daring and quick thinking. Each near miss emboldened the human crew, making them bolder, more inventive, and even a little reckless. While fear was present, the thrill of survival brought a sharp focus, and the humans discovered a strength they had never known existed. The Zalarian commanders were stunned, accustomed to battles that followed predictable patterns. Now they faced an enemy whose reactions seemed random, yet always found a way to survive. Some ships in the fleet collided with debris while attempting to adjust to human maneuvers, causing minor damage and further frustration. The humans' lack of formal tactics was their advantage, because no protocol could predict the unexpected. Every move they made was a surprise, forcing the Zalarians to rethink their assumptions about this primitive species. Communication within the human fleet became a frantic mix of warnings, suggestions, and encouragement. Crew members shouted over one another, improvising codes and signals, adapting on the fly. Each human acted on instinct, trusting each other and the ship's systems in ways that seemed chaotic from the outside. Yet this chaos was effective, and small victories began to appear. Missed attacks, misfires, and confused enemy formations allowed the humans to escape moments that would have been fatal under normal circumstances. The first human ship to engage directly with a Zalarian scout demonstrated incredible improvisation. Using the ship's limited weaponry, it disabled part of the alien vessel's shields temporarily. The Zalarians had never encountered technology used in such unexpected ways. Their officers watched in disbelief as a smaller, slower human ship held its ground against advanced systems designed for interstellar dominance. Each success boosted human morale while simultaneously unnerving the enemy. Humans laughed nervously at their own daring, aware of the danger yet unwilling to surrender. As the battle continued, humans discovered patterns in the alien attacks, exploiting small weaknesses in the Zalarian formations. They coordinated movements instinctively, often without formal communication, trusting one another's timing and decisions. The Zalarians, despite centuries of military experience, struggled to anticipate these unconventional strategies. Each unexpected human maneuver caused delays, minor damage, and growing doubt among the alien officers. It became clear that the humans were far more adaptable than anyone had imagined. Fear and excitement mixed as the humans realized they were surviving against an empire. Their small fleet remained intact, shields flickering but holding, engines pushed to the limit. Crew members exchanged looks of disbelief and exhilaration. They began to feel that maybe, just maybe, they could continue to resist. Even as the Zalarians regrouped and prepared new strategies, the humans' courage, improvisation, and unpredictability had turned the first encounter into a spectacle of survival and daring. The galaxy watched silently as these human explorers, inexperienced and underpowered, challenged one of its greatest powers. Each near miss and narrow escape built a legend that would spread across systems, demonstrating that humans, though small and seemingly fragile, possessed ingenuity and courage that no one had expected. The Zalarians now faced a reality they had not predicted, and the humans, despite fear and exhaustion, felt a strange sense of pride and momentum, ready to face whatever came next. The stage was set for a battle unlike any the galaxy had seen: raw courage against overwhelming power, chaos against precision. Humans were learning quickly, and the Zalarians were realizing that victory would not come as easily as they had believed. Each side braced for the next move, knowing that the outcome could change the course of history, and that the humans' daring would be remembered far beyond this first encounter. Attempts at communication between humans and the Zalarians began almost immediately, but they were chaotic and full of misunderstandings. Humans tried to send simple signals using basic language and universal codes, hoping the aliens would understand that they meant no harm. The Zalarians, with their advanced but rigid communication systems, misinterpreted every message as a challenge or a threat. Even simple greetings were read as strategic maneuvers, and data probes intended for exploration were seen as espionage attempts. Tension mounted as both sides reacted to what they thought were deliberate actions. On the human fleet, the crew huddled around consoles, trying to decode responses from the alien ships. Their excitement from earlier victories turned into frustration. As they struggled to make sense of the alien symbols, the humans accidentally transmitted sequences that the Zalarians interpreted as battle codes. Imperial officers immediately ordered attacks on perceived hostile targets. Civilians on nearby neutral planets began evacuating after detecting energy surges and missile launches. Chaos spread not only among the humans and the Zalarians, but also across the sector. Humans tried again, improvising new ways to communicate, flashing lights, sending simple mathematical signals, even playing audio tones in repeated patterns. Yet, the Zalarians' interpretation remained rigid, and every attempt seemed to escalate the situation. Each alien ship prepared weapons, expecting an assault, and humans read these preparations as aggressive maneuvers, prompting defensive reactions. This cycle repeated itself several times, creating small skirmishes without anyone truly understanding the other. A single misaligned signal could trigger a volley of attacks, forcing both sides to react instinctively. The humans realized that their technology, although advanced for exploration, was primitive compared to the Zalarians. Every attempt to override sensors or send clearer messages risked being detected as sabotage. Their desperation grew as they understood the gravity of the situation. Yet, even in confusion, they did not give up, relying on quick thinking and teamwork to survive. They developed improvised hand signals and timing sequences to coordinate actions without broadcasting across open channels. Each successful maneuver, however minor, saved lives and kept them from being completely destroyed. From the Zalarian perspective, the humans were baffling and frustrating. Their unpredictable behavior defied all military protocols, making it impossible to anticipate their next move. Some officers advocated for immediate annihilation, while others suggested holding back and observing further. Their leaders debated whether the humans were a genuine threat or simply reckless explorers. Meanwhile, energy beams and targeting systems were constantly adjusted, creating a tense and unstable battlefield where a single miscalculation could lead to catastrophe. Amid this tension, humans continued exploring the planets, scanning minerals and mapping terrain, oblivious to the fact that these innocent actions were interpreted as preparations for invasion. Their sense of curiosity clashed with the Zalarians' perception of aggression, heightening the risk with every step. Yet, the humans' calmness in the midst of chaos began to confuse some Zalarian officers. Their fear shifted into intrigue, and small doubts began to creep into the Imperial ranks. Could these beings really be so fearless and unpredictable, or was this part of a hidden plan? Skirmishes erupted near asteroids and moons, with humans narrowly avoiding collisions and attacks. Each accidental hit, whether from a human defensive move or an alien misfire, increased the tension. The humans learned quickly to anticipate Zalarian strategies, adjusting routes and timing with remarkable precision despite the chaos. While the Zalarians remained uncertain, recalibrating targeting systems and trying to read signals that were never meant to deceive. The entire sector was on edge, a powder keg ready to ignite at any moment. Despite the danger, human morale grew as they realized they could survive these encounters. Their teamwork, creativity, and courage kept them moving forward, turning near disasters into small victories. Each success boosted confidence, allowing them to take calculated risks. Even as the Zalarians watched, frustrated and confused, they could not deny the humans' effectiveness. The humans, though unarmed for true combat, were proving themselves as more than mere explorers, becoming a force to be reckoned with. Finally, a fragile understanding began to form, though not through words, but through repeated interactions and observation. Humans learned patterns of alien behavior, avoiding direct conflict, and the Zalarians began to recognize the humans' intentions were not entirely hostile. Yet, misinterpretations still caused flare-ups, energy discharges, and near misses. Keeping tension high, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath, watching as humans and the Empire navigated the most confusing and dangerous misunderstanding in history. By the end of this chaotic period, both sides had survived multiple near collisions and skirmishes, but no trust had been established. Humans had proven their ingenuity and bravery, while the Zalarians had learned that raw power alone could not dominate these unpredictable beings. The stage was set for further encounters, with both sides wary, curious, and ready for anything. The accidental invasion was far from over, and the humans' reputation for courage and unpredictability was beginning to spread through the stars. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, humans refused to give up. Their small fleet had already survived several encounters with the Zalarians, but the pressure was immense. The crew knew that relying on conventional tactics would get them destroyed quickly, so they began using creativity, improvisation, and sheer unpredictability to turn the tables. They repurposed cargo ships as decoys, sending them in random patterns to confuse sensors and draw fire away from the main vessels. Alien scanners could not distinguish between decoys and real ships, causing the Zalarians to waste energy and resources on non-threats. Humans also experimented with hacking, though they barely understood alien technology. Using intuition and trial and error, they found ways to disrupt minor systems on Zalarian ships. Even small glitches caused by these hacks forced the enemy to pause, reset, or recalibrate, buying precious time for human maneuvers. Each success, no matter how minor, boosted morale and proved that brains and courage could sometimes overcome raw power. Crew members cheered quietly as shields flickered but held, engines pushed beyond safe limits, and tiny victories accumulated. On the battlefield, humans used the environment to their advantage, navigating asteroid belts, gas clouds, and planetary rings in ways that the Zalarians had not anticipated. They twisted and turned in narrow gaps, forcing alien targeting systems to struggle with calculations. Their movement seemed reckless, but each maneuver was carefully observed by humans who had quickly learned the physics of the area. Even when they appeared cornered, humans found escape routes and improvised tactics that left the Zalarians frustrated and confused. One particularly daring move involved sending a fleet through a dense asteroid field, appearing to split and scatter. The Zalarians fired at what they thought were multiple fleets, but most projectiles were absorbed or deflected by the asteroids. Meanwhile, the humans regrouped behind cover and prepared a countermove. Their improvisation was bold, dangerous, and unpredictable. For the Zalarians, it was maddening. Centuries of disciplined tactics were useless against these erratic behaviors. Alien admirals began to doubt their strategies, wondering if these humans had an instinct for chaos that no algorithm could predict. Humans also developed quick improvisational communication methods, using lights, patterns, and prearranged sequences. They coordinated attacks and evasive actions without broadcasting across open channels. This reduced the chance of misinterpretation and allowed small teams to act independently, yet in perfect sync. Even untrained crew members could contribute to maneuvers, turning every ship into a coordinated part of a larger improvisational system. The unity and trust within the fleet became their strongest weapon, compensating for their lack of firepower and experience. Each encounter brought new lessons, and humans adapted rapidly. Learning the weaknesses and habits of the Zalarian fleet, they discovered that certain attack patterns could be predicted if approached with unconventional timing. They exploited gaps in alien protocols, distracting one section of the fleet while the main ship slipped through unnoticed. Their adaptability was astonishing, and for the first time, some Zalarian officers realized that brute force alone might not be enough to defeat humans. The humans' willingness to take risks also played a major role. They were not bound by fear of protocol or procedure, making choices that seemed reckless but often worked. At times, they would deliberately expose a ship as bait, drawing enemy fire while another ship completed a critical maneuver. These moves, unthinkable by conventional standards, caused confusion and hesitation in the Zalarian command. While some humans trembled at the danger, others thrived on the adrenaline, their courage contagious and inspiring the entire fleet. Even as exhaustion set in, humans remained inventive, using every available tool, piece of equipment, and sensor to gain advantage. They converted cargo containers into mobile shields, rerouted energy to engines for sudden bursts of speed, and created visual illusions to hide movements. Every improvisation had an immediate impact, delaying attacks, confusing enemy systems, and giving humans the upper hand in situations that seemed hopeless. Their ingenuity became a living weapon, terrifying to the Zalarians who could not understand how such small ships could consistently survive. The Zalarians began to realize that humans were not just lucky or reckless, but that they had an instinctive understanding of improvisation and survival. Every unpredictable action challenged the Empire's expectations, and officers debated how to respond. Should they destroy these humans quickly, or observe them, study them, and learn from their audacity? Meanwhile, the humans, unaware of the growing fascination, continued their daring maneuvers, confident that every creative solution brought them closer to survival. Each small victory reinforced the idea that courage and adaptability could match even the most overwhelming power. By the end of these encounters, the humans had transformed from simple explorers into clever, resourceful fighters. Their creativity and bravery had allowed them to survive against impossible odds. Confusing, frustrating, and even humbling one of the most powerful fleets in the galaxy. The Zalarians now faced a species that could not be predicted, a species whose ingenuity and daring made every encounter a challenge. Humans had discovered their strength, and the galaxy would soon take notice of the chaos they could unleash through pure resourcefulness and courage. The Zalarians, frustrated and embarrassed by repeated failures against the human fleet, decided to escalate their attacks. Their pride as one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy was wounded, and they were determined to crush these unpredictable intruders. Massive warships formed battle lines, energy weapons charged to full power, and missile volleys prepared for a decisive strike. Yet, the humans continued to evade and improvise. Their small ships darted between asteroids, dodged beams, and exploited every minor flaw in the alien targeting systems. Imperial admirals were stunned by the humans' resilience. Their sophisticated strategies, perfected over centuries, seemed ineffective against a species that acted with instinct and daring, rather than careful calculation. Every maneuver the humans made, though uncoordinated by conventional standards, had a surprising impact. Some ships narrowly avoided destruction by sheer luck. Others survived because the Zalarians misread their actions. Frustration spread through the ranks, and debates erupted among officers about how to respond to such a chaotic enemy. The humans' courage was becoming legendary within their own fleet. Each crew member pushed beyond their limits, trusting instincts and each other. They coordinated improvised attacks and evasions without needing formal commands. The fleet had learned to move as a living organism, unpredictable but highly effective. Even when surrounded, humans found ways to exploit gaps in the Zalarian formations. Their audacity and willingness to take risks kept the enemy on edge, forcing adjustments that slowed down coordinated attacks. In one daring move, humans lured a section of the Zalarian fleet into a dense asteroid belt. The aliens fired relentlessly, but the narrow passages and shifting debris caused many weapons to miss or backfire. Meanwhile, the human fleet used the distraction to reposition, repairing shields and preparing countermoves. These improvisations, while seemingly reckless, were calculated in the human mind. Each risk had a potential reward, and even small successes gave the fleet confidence to push further. The Zalarians were forced to rethink their approach, realizing that direct power could no longer guarantee victory. As the battle continued, human ingenuity became even more pronounced. They modified cargo ships into makeshift weapons platforms, using simple technologies in ways that confused the Zalarians. Energy beams that were supposed to track and target humans constantly missed because of their unpredictable movement. Their unorthodox tactics disrupted the flow of battle, forcing the Zalarians to waste time recalibrating and redeploying ships. Even minor improvisations, like sudden course changes or feigned retreats, caused confusion and hesitation in the alien ranks. The humans' daring inspired courage in moments of extreme fear. Crew members who had initially panicked began taking bolder actions. Trusting each other's instincts, they executed maneuvers that combined speed, timing, and surprise. Even inexperienced personnel contributed to the fleet's effectiveness, acting decisively in moments when hesitation could have meant destruction. The Zalarians began to recognize that these humans were learning quickly, adapting to situations faster than expected, and using every disadvantage as an opportunity. Imperial officers debated whether to continue with brute force or find another method. The humans' unpredictability made careful planning difficult, and the Empire's pride demanded a quick resolution. They increased bombardments, but even with superior technology, some attacks missed their targets or caused minor damage, reinforcing the human sense of resilience. The aliens' frustration grew as humans continually survived situations that should have been fatal. Their reputation for reckless bravery began to unsettle the Imperial ranks, leaving doubt in minds that had never known uncertainty. Humans, exhausted but determined, learned to exploit the smallest weaknesses. Timing attacks with precision, using decoys, and creating diversions became routine. They were no longer just surviving. They were actively shaping the battle, forcing the Zalarians to react, pause, and reconsider every move. Even when danger seemed overwhelming, human courage and innovation allowed them to maintain momentum. Each daring maneuver reinforced the idea that intelligence, adaptability, and fearlessness could overcome sheer power. As the battle raged on, it became clear to both sides that the humans were far from ordinary. They had turned their apparent weaknesses, small numbers, minimal firepower, and lack of experience, into strengths. By thinking creatively, taking risks, and trusting instincts, humans repeatedly avoided annihilation. While the Zalarians had technology, numbers, and centuries of strategy, humans had unpredictability, courage, and ingenuity, qualities that no algorithm or protocol could fully anticipate. The conflict escalated tensions, but also revealed something unexpected. The humans' daring challenged the Zalarians' assumptions, forcing them to consider that perhaps raw power alone could not dominate every species. And for the humans, every narrow escape and successful improvisation strengthened their resolve, showing that bravery and cleverness could match and sometimes surpass the might of an empire. The stage was set for a struggle that would test the limits of both civilizations, with humans proving that courage and ingenuity could make even the most powerful foes uncertain. After days of chaotic encounters, both humans and the Zalarians realized that prolonged conflict could destroy the sector's resources and cause massive loss on both sides. The humans had survived through courage, improvisation, and daring, while the Zalarians had been frustrated and humbled by their inability to predict or control the humans' actions. The tension remained high, but a fragile understanding began to emerge, as both sides recognized that continued fighting might lead to total disaster, and that some form of cautious truce could prevent unnecessary destruction. Humans, exhausted but resilient, remained alert, scanning the surrounding space for threats while repairing shields and engines. Their small fleet had grown stronger through experience, and their confidence was tempered by the knowledge of how close they had come to annihilation multiple times. Every maneuver and strategy had taught them valuable lessons about the Zalarians' methods, patterns, and weaknesses. They began to experiment with sending signals designed not to provoke, but to convey simple intentions, hoping for understanding. The Zalarians, despite their advanced technology and centuries of discipline, were forced to reconsider their assumptions about the humans. They had initially viewed them as reckless and primitive, but now it became clear that the humans were adaptive, courageous, and intelligent in ways the Empire had never anticipated. Some Imperial officers argued for continued attacks, convinced that humans were a threat that had to be eliminated. But others began advocating for observation and negotiation, curious to understand this unpredictable species. The debates revealed a crack in the Empire's confidence, a recognition that raw power was not always enough. Tentative communication attempts were made, using simple signals, repeated patterns, and neutral energy pulses. The humans struggled to explain their accidental intrusion, using every tool available to convey that they had never intended to provoke or attack. The Zalarians, interpreting each signal cautiously, tried to respond, but misinterpretation was still frequent. Every accidental flare of energy or misaligned signal could have reignited conflict. Yet both sides were willing to risk small misunderstandings in the hope of reaching a temporary peace. During this fragile truce, humans observed the alien ships with intense curiosity, studying their movement, energy patterns, and formations. They began to understand aspects of the Zalarians' protocols, realizing how rigid and structured the Empire's operations were. This knowledge allowed humans to anticipate behaviors, avoid traps, and navigate space with more confidence. Even while under the watchful eyes of the Empire, humans felt a growing sense of empowerment, learning that survival depended not only on courage, but also on observation and quick adaptation. The Zalarians, in turn, began to observe the humans in detail, noting their teamwork, creativity, and unpredictable problem-solving. They were fascinated by how humans worked together without rigid command structures, relying on trust, intuition, and adaptability. Some officers began advocating for collaboration instead of aggression, seeing potential value in understanding humans rather than destroying them. Even as tension lingered, a small sense of curiosity and cautious respect began to grow among certain factions of the Empire. During this period, minor skirmishes and miscommunications still occurred, showing that neither side fully trusted the other. Human ships occasionally triggered defensive responses, and Zalarian energy pulses sometimes created temporary chaos. Yet, each incident provided lessons, forcing humans to refine signals and evasive maneuvers, while Zalarians adjusted targeting protocols and communication attempts. Over time, both sides began to predict and respond to small behaviors, learning to coexist in a tense but controlled environment. Humans also began experimenting with non-threatening demonstrations, showing that their fleet could operate without causing harm. They flashed coordinated light sequences, executed maneuvers that displayed precision rather than aggression, and sent neutral data probes. These actions signaled a willingness to avoid further conflict, while the Zalarians slowly began to recognize intention behind movements and transmissions. Even with lingering suspicion, the seeds of mutual understanding were taking root. The fragile truce created a pause in the chaos, allowing both civilizations to assess the situation. Humans gained time to repair, regroup, and plan, while the Zalarians evaluated the unexpected qualities of these daring newcomers. Their curiosity about human courage, unpredictability, and problem-solving grew with each observation. What had begun as accidental intrusion was now evolving into an unprecedented opportunity for learning and adaptation, showing both sides that confrontation could be avoided without weakening vigilance. By the end of this tense period, humans had survived, learned, and strengthened their resolve, while the Zalarians had begun to respect and study this new species, realizing that even a minor miscalculation could escalate tensions again. The fragile truce was a delicate balance, with both sides aware that the next move could either lead to disaster or pave the way for cautious cooperation. Humans had shown resilience, courage, and ingenuity, while the Empire had learned that power alone could not dictate outcomes. The stage was now set for deeper understanding, continued tension, and the possibility of a cautious yet historic coexistence. The Zalarians began to study the humans more closely, fascinated by their resilience, adaptability, and unpredictable thinking. Officers and scientists observed how humans worked together, coordinated without rigid hierarchy, and solved problems with creativity rather than strict procedure. Every human maneuver, from evading attacks to improvising defenses, revealed a species capable of rapid learning and fearless action. Unlike anything the Empire had encountered, humans did not rely on superior technology or overwhelming force, yet they consistently surprised their observers. Humans, aware that the Zalarians were watching, began to notice patterns in the aliens' responses. They realized that every maneuver, signal, or minor action could influence the aliens' behavior. The fleet used this knowledge to test boundaries, carefully avoiding aggression, but demonstrating capability and intelligence. Even small actions, like precise navigation around asteroids or coordinated sensor sweeps, showed the humans' discipline and teamwork. These subtle displays intrigued some Zalarian officers, challenging their assumptions that humans were reckless or unintelligent. As humans and the Zalarians continued to interact, both sides experienced a cultural shock. Humans were amazed by the sheer scale and sophistication of the Empire. Its fleets, energy shields, and communication systems were far beyond anything they had imagined. Yet, they also realized that the Zalarians' strength came with rigidity. Protocols, strict hierarchy, and predictable strategies limited flexibility and creativity. Humans found ways to exploit this structure without confrontation, using observation, timing, and ingenuity to navigate around potential dangers. The Zalarians, in turn, were astonished by human courage and unpredictability. They had assumed that a species with weaker technology would act cautiously or submit, but humans defied these expectations. Facing overwhelming power without hesitation, improvising solutions, and surviving near-impossible situations, the Empire's leaders began to question their long-held beliefs. Could a species so small and technologically inferior pose a threat or offer new insights into strategy and problem-solving? Their respect and curiosity grew alongside lingering caution. Humans also began to engage in deliberate observation, studying the Zalarians' fleet formations, energy usage, and communication patterns. Even without understanding every detail, they learned enough to anticipate certain behaviors, timing maneuvers, evasions, and signaling to reduce risk. Each discovery increased confidence, allowing humans to act with more freedom and ingenuity. They realized that survival required not just courage, but careful study and adaptation, turning chaos into a tool rather than a threat. The Empire's scientists and officers started advocating for non-aggression, arguing that these humans could be valuable allies or subjects of study rather than enemies. They watched as humans demonstrated resilience, creativity, and intelligence, qualities that were rare even among advanced species. Some Zalarians began to imagine cooperation, considering ways to communicate more effectively, share knowledge, or even learn from humans' unique approach to problem solving. Meanwhile, humans remained cautious, aware that trust had to be earned, but intrigued by the Empire's curiosity. Over time, the interactions became a subtle dance of observation and adaptation. Minor miscommunications still caused tension, but each encounter also offered opportunities to learn. The humans discovered that the Zalarians valued precision and predictability, while the aliens discovered that humans thrived on flexibility and instinct. Both sides adapted, adjusting behavior to avoid accidental conflict while maintaining a cautious watch. The sector's tension gradually shifted from immediate danger to cautious curiosity, a recognition that both species had much to learn from each other. Humans' teamwork and ingenuity became increasingly impressive to the Empire. Their ability to coordinate without rigid structure, improvise under pressure, and maintain morale in the face of overwhelming odds highlighted a type of intelligence and courage unfamiliar to the Zalarians. Some officers advocated for closer study, sending observers to monitor movements and learn about human decision-making. Their admiration grew with each successful maneuver, creating a grudging respect that replaced pure fear or anger. The Zalarians began to recognize that humans were not just surviving by luck, but through instinct, adaptability, and determination, qualities that could be valuable in understanding strategies for the future. Humans, cautiously curious, began to test the boundaries of interaction, communicating through simple signals, demonstrating skill and coordination, and subtly showing that their intentions were not hostile. Both civilizations were learning from each other, curiosity slowly replacing tension, and a foundation of mutual understanding emerging despite the history of chaos. By the end of this period, humans had proven themselves resilient, intelligent, and courageous, while the Zalarians had been humbled, intrigued, and increasingly respectful. Both sides had entered a new stage of engagement, where observation, learning, and careful adaptation replaced blind aggression. The humans' unpredictable brilliance challenged the Empire's assumptions, while the Zalarians' sophistication offered humans lessons in strategy and technology. A cautious respect was born, setting the stage for potential cooperation, continued tension, and a deeper understanding of each other's strengths and limits. The accidental invasion left a lasting mark on both humans and the Zalarians. Humans had entered the Empire by mistake, but their courage, creativity, and adaptability had forced one of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy to take notice. Every skirmish, narrow escape, and clever maneuver had demonstrated that humans were far more than ordinary explorers. They had survived against overwhelming odds, turning fear and chaos into opportunities for learning and growth. And earning the respect of the Empire, the Zalarians, humbled by their misjudgment, reevaluated their approach to the galaxy. They had assumed that brute force and superior technology guaranteed dominance, but the humans had shown that unpredictability, teamwork, and determination could overcome even the most advanced systems. Imperial officers and scientists began to study humans in a new light, fascinated by their resourcefulness, courage, and rapid adaptability. The accidental invasion had become a living lesson in the limits of control and the value of observation and understanding. Humans, meanwhile, reflected on the extraordinary circumstances that had brought them into the Empire's territory. They had set out on a routine exploration mission and found themselves at the center of interstellar chaos. Yet, instead of being crushed, they had survived, learned, and adapted. Each crew member had contributed to the fleet's resilience, improvising under pressure, trusting instincts, and working together in ways that defied conventional wisdom. Their courage had become a defining feature, a symbol of humanity's ability to face the unknown with determination. During this period, a cautious but mutual respect developed. Humans and Zalarians learned from each other, observing tactics, behavior, and decision-making. Humans realized the power and discipline of the Empire, while the Zalarians began to appreciate human ingenuity, unpredictability, and fearlessness. Small communications and carefully observed interactions built a fragile bridge of understanding. Even though both sides remained wary, the initial chaos had transformed into curiosity and admiration, creating possibilities that had seemed impossible at the beginning. The humans' reputation spread beyond the immediate sector. Stories of their courage, daring maneuvers, and unexpected survival reached distant systems, painting them as fearless and unconventional opponents. The Zalarians, who had once viewed humans as weak and easily crushed, now recognized that this species could not be underestimated. Their unpredictability and ingenuity had reshaped the Empire's perception of humanity, proving that strength was not always measured in size, technology, or firepower. Through this accidental invasion, the humans had also grown, learning lessons about courage, collaboration, and adaptability. They had discovered a new level of resilience, understanding that survival depended not only on technology, but also on creativity, quick thinking, and trust in one another. Each challenge faced against the Zalarians had strengthened their confidence, showing them that even the most powerful forces could be challenged through intelligence and daring. For the Zalarians, the experience was equally transformative. The Empire had been forced to confront assumptions about superiority, discipline, and predictability. They had witnessed a species that operated without rigid control, yet achieved remarkable results. This challenged their long-held beliefs and inspired curiosity, prompting officers and scientists to study humans with genuine interest. Some even suggested that the lessons learned from humans could influence the Empire's strategy and approach to future encounters. In the end, the accidental invasion became a defining moment for both civilizations. Humans were remembered not just as explorers who survived by chance, but as a species whose courage, creativity, and adaptability could alter the course of history. The Zalarians, humbled and intrigued, recognized that their power alone did not guarantee dominance and that cooperation, understanding, and observation had value in navigating the galaxy. Mutual respect, begrudging admiration, and cautious curiosity set the stage for future interactions. The sector that had once erupted in chaos was now a testament to resilience and adaptability. Humans had turned an accident into a legendary adventure, proving that even in the face of overwhelming odds, determination, ingenuity, and courage could leave a lasting mark. The Zalarians would remember this encounter as a lesson in humility and the unpredictable potential of a species they had underestimated. The accidental invasion had transformed both sides, leaving a legacy of bravery, respect, and the promise of further discoveries. Humans returned to their explorations with new confidence, aware that the galaxy was vast and full of unknown challenges. They had survived an empire, adapted, learned, and proven that their courage and ingenuity were forces to be reckoned with. The Zalarians watched, fascinated and cautious, aware that these small but fearless beings had changed the way they would view the galaxy forever. The accidental invasion had become history, but its impact would echo for generations, showing that even unintended actions could reshape civilizations. The story of humans who accidentally invaded the Zalarian Empire became a symbol across the stars, demonstrating that fearlessness, creativity, and adaptability could challenge the greatest powers. Humans had proven themselves capable of surviving, learning, and leaving an indelible mark on a galaxy that had once thought them weak. Their courage and unpredictability had changed perceptions and set the stage for future encounters. A legend was born, one that would inspire generations, reminding all that even the smallest explorers could create chaos, command respect, and shape history.